and welcome to Jasper's Cooking. Mukesh on the camera, Jasper here. It's not cooking this week, we're going to be really lazy. It's going to be Jasper's kitchen. So what I'm going to do is basically talk about my life in cooking through my kitchen, show you the things that I value, the things that I use, the things that I've basically accumulated since I started cooking aged 14. I cooked my first family Sunday lunch age 14 back in England where I come from. Okay, so this is just kind of my personal story. Over the years I've acquired things and I found some tools useful and I want to share all of that with you, my wonderful audience. Okay, fair enough. So let's talk first about your basic staples in life, right? So here, we have a kind of pantry of all sorts of stuff here. So what I like to have available at any given time and close at hand is my balsamic vinegars, my white wine vinegars, my oil, my salt, my pepper, and a little wine for cooking, right? So I like to have all of that on hand, yeah? Now, then when I think about my pantry and my supplies, okay, the key things for me really are all of my spices and my oils and all this kind of stuff in here, right? So we've got everything from sesame oil to mustard oils, more white wine vinegar, fish sauce, so all of the oriental sauces which don't acquire them in one go, just acquire them bit by bit, right? Then down here, all of my spices, my main oil, and that basically is my kind of base ingredients to cook. Any other spices we like to keep in here, and we've basically over time acquired 30, 40, 50 different types of spices which we like to mix, okay? And then thinking about the fridge and your chilled ingredients, we basically have our standard stuff in here, our eggs, sometimes things like avocado, feta cheese, some chilled wine, mustards, sauces, butter, pomegranates, all the kind of things you want. All of our veg down here, some staple stuff like pepperoni, etc. Okay? Have a good freezer on hand, right? So all of our meats are in here, our chickens, our pork loins, etc. Things like ice cream for the kids. And then there are some good herbs like curry leaves that freeze really nicely. We also, and you'll recognise this from other shows, we always keep a nice big blob of fresh yeast, okay? And we chip away at that to make our breads or our pizzas or that kind of stuff. Okay, good. So let's talk about our basic cooking platform, okay? Standard oven. What I really like about this, especially in India, with things like power cuts or needing to switch between fuel types, is we've got an electric hob and we've got gas hobs, right? So we're running off bottled gas, but we're also running off mains electricity, which gives you some balance. This is a real luxury item. Now we're not playing cricket. I wish we were playing cricket. A pizza oven is a great thing to have. It's a super luxury item, but what it does, folks, is it basically cooks at a much, much higher temperature. So this guy goes up to about 230. This goes up to 400, right? So for those that can or save up for it, it's a really fantastic item, and you'll never really get the same pizza in a kind of conventional oven. Then as we go through all of this, obviously your kettle. The thing about a kettle is get a good one, right? You can go through like 10, 20 cheap kettles, get yourself a good one, an attractive one. A toaster. Now in the morning, if I think about my day, the key thing for me to start my day is my coffee grinder, okay? So I take my coffee beans, I put it in the top, and I grind it freshly, right? Then when I'm starting the day, I can't start without coffee. I either use my Italian coffee maker, which sucks up the water, or, and you can see my coffee from this morning, a French press, where you push down, right? So again, having options on that is kind of interesting and good. Okay, let's talk about where I get my ideas from, right? I kind of get them from here, and really the best chefs are people that know how to play with their ingredients, know how to use their cooking equipment. I'll get to cooking equipment in a second, right? But there is a world of books, okay? This is just a kind of mini selection of the books that I've acquired, gosh, in 20, 30 years. I left a huge number of these back in England. I had something like 120 cookbooks, but assemble enough of a kind of mini little library right here. So you've got, go for the kind of classics, right? Marcella Hazan, that is one of the great classics of Italian cooking. I've got every Jamie's book, and here, this is like more purist, and this is just much more fun and functional, easy. But Jamie would know about Marcella, right? So a lot of books link back to each other. I've got some classics here. So Shizuo Tsuji, who was one of the great Iron Chefs of India, teamed up with M.K. Fisher, who's one of the great American cookery writers, to do Japanese cooking, a simple art. Back in the day, no one outside of Japan was really cooking Japanese, so that was an iconic book. And so on and so forth. So get a nice library here, use ideas, blend them with your own ideas. Like we always say on Jasper's Cooking, it's not my cooking or Marcella's or, who have we got here? We've got Hugh Fernley-Whittingstall, one of the great kind of meat chefs in England. Okay, so now we've thought about some ingredients, our cooking platform, some of our books, let's think about our kind of instruments, right? These are like, if you've got an orchestra, okay? These are your violins and your oboes and your cellos and all the different things, right? So let's think about the basics, pots and pans. Follow me. Okay, so here's where I keep my pots and pans, up here. And then the rest of my pots and pans down here. And let me tell you about 2 or 3 things that you really want to have, okay? Every Indian Indian kitchen, and frankly every kitchen around the world, should have a pressure cooker. That's important. Try and invest in some big casserole pots, right? This is a medium-sized one, but it's very, very heavy, well balanced, and takes the heat. Pause, Mukesh. Okay, so big, heavy casserole pots. The key here is a big, heavy base, right? That is terribly, terribly important for slow cooking, okay? These things cost proper money, so save up for them, but get yourself 2 or 3 of these in your lifetime, right? They last forever, right? If your mum's got some or your dad's got some, see if they can leave them to you, right? Okay. Essential other little items. I mean, obviously you have a range of cookery ware and pots to suit the occasion. Another essential item, a small non-stick frying pan, right? You can use this here for omelettes, but it's just a quick thing to do. The non-stick bit on a pan always comes off, so get one that's functional and just replace it every few years, but it's an important item. Now down here, 2 or 3 things that I've really learnt in cooking. One is, have a really big frying pan, right? Go to places that do industrial catering ware, right? Guys that supply the hotels and the restaurants. Don't mess around with a small frying pan, just get a big one, so you've got so much more space, right? This is really invaluable. I mean, I've had this for 15 years and it's kind of still working, and if I work out the cost, it's like, I don't know, 1,000 rupees a year or something? Okay. Any house should have a good colander, right? Again, get a big one. Go out there and get an industrial sized one. Don't mess around with funny little sieves, right? You'll really value having space to work with, and lots of good bowls. You definitely want a rice cooker. It helps you so much. Honestly, nothing makes rice more perfectly than a rice cooker. Then what have we got in here? We've got woks, we've got baking trays, we've all got that stuff. Okay, so if that's your basic kind of your pots and pans and all of that, you want a couple of other key items in your life, right? You definitely want a spice grinder, easy to get in India. Actually, you don't see them much outside of India, but that will save you a hell of a lot of time, right? More supplies and stuff in here. Good range of bowls, right? Have plenty of bowls of different sizes. Big, plastic, simple bowls. Give yourself space to work, okay? When it comes to presentation, get yourself as many plates and cups, acquire them over your life. Don't necessarily acquire them all in one go, right? Because all these things, I mean, this came from Tokyo, right? This came from Ireland. This came from Hong Kong, right? This is an Indira Gandhi quote. I cannot understand how anyone can be an Indian and not be proud, right? That came from Mrs. Indira Gandhi's house, right? So everything has memories in here, right? And that's the thing about cooking. It creates memories. It's soul. That's what you really want to get into your cooking. Is soul. So don't just go out and buy a bunch of pots and pans. Acquire them over time. Okay? Fair enough, Mikesh? Okay. So just to finish up, okay? A few things in my cooking life and my kitchen that I like to have around me, okay? Some basic utensils. A microplane for grating, right? Look at that. It's incredibly fine. Grate your cheese, grate bits of garlic. You can grate a bit of cabbage on here. It does it ultra fine. Okay, important item. Probably the most important item in the kitchen, right? 2 decent knives, right? One big, one small. This is a Japanese knife. They make fantastic blades. They're very expensive, but they're very worth having. This is a sort of all-round, vegetably, fish type knife. This is a bigger knife for your meats, right? The important thing on knives is don't use them for the wrong purpose, because ultimately you'll damage them. Don't get 20 knives, get 1, 2 good ones, okay? A couple of other things here. Good spatulas so you can get things out, right? Nice and flexible. The trick here is if you're outside of India, you know, you have access. So for example, the Italians, the Swiss, the Swedes, the Japanese, they make incredibly beautifully engineered items like this. So if you're lucky enough to get outside of India, just pick up 1 or 2 things like this on your travels. Again, it'll give you those memories. Okay? Pasta claw, very useful. Take out your noodles, take out your pasta. Good ladles, right? A good ladle is a very valuable item. Then you can never, ever, ever have too many wooden spoons, right? Take the ones from your family, buy them on the way. India is an amazing place for this, right? But so many little things. And it's also, the wood really kind of, somehow all the wood absorbs the memories, right? The memories of cooking. So that's super important. A little family of sieves so that you can drain stuff off very easily. And then just to finish up here, because kitchens are so personal, right? So personal, okay? So it's nice to have stuff in your kitchen that reminds you of stuff. So that's our beloved black Labrador dog, Nellie, who we left behind in England when we moved to India. And I love to have Nellie watch over us while I'm cooking, right? And then we have some things that inspire us, right? So these are beautiful old Italian plates. And I like to feel that all the mamma mias of Italy, when I'm cooking, they're kind of looking down on me and inspiring me, okay? So look, no cooking this week. I know you feel cheated. I feel sorry that I'm not cooking for you, but cooking is it's not just the ingredients, it's everything. This is what I've been describing as the architecture of cooking, the engineering, the ecosystem, all the things that go into it, the personal stuff, the soul, the technical side of it, etc. And that's the beautiful thing about cooking is it's a life, right? It's a life of tools, of techniques, of interests, of failures, of successes, all those things. And it's all you, right? That's the one other thing about cooking. It's not, you might be following someone else's recipe, but it's all you, and there's nothing more personal. And ultimately, the people that you're feeding, that's incredibly personal too. So I hope that's kind of interesting to everyone. Certainly it's sort of been interesting for me to remember. Thank you very much for watching Jasper's Cooking, and tune in next time.